The Beginning of Atlantis. Enki and the Anuna gods. This is some of the history of our Sumerian forefather Enki and his mother Namu. Enki and his wife Ninhursag was the father and mother of Marduk, the god of Babylon. They were also the grandparent of Thoth, the Egyptian god of knowledge. Enki was highly intelligent, and it was he that became the main dweller in Amenti. Thoth learned a lot from him and others, and that's how he was taught the celestial skies. Enki was known as the Sumerian god of wisdom. So let us pry into his life and see what we can learn. The material we will use is found on clay tablets found in Iraq. Enki takes his older sister, Ninhursag, as his wife, and their first child was Marduk, the god of Babylon, and he also had a very interesting history. Let us now read the mud tablets, but first note this. The Mesopotamian mother goddess Nintur is known under many names, the most prominent of which is the Sumerian name Nintud/Nintur. Other frequent names are Ninmah and Balatili. She was in charge of pregnancy and birth and, especially in earlier periods, appears as the creator of humankind. She was the one that helped Enki create a slave race called humans, and that he did. On to the mud tablets. Enki and Ninmah, mud tablet. In those days, in the days when heaven and earth were created, in those nights, in the nights when heaven and earth were created, in those years, in the years when the fates were determined, when the Anuna gods were born, when the goddesses were taken in marriage, when the goddesses were distributed in heaven and earth, when the goddesses became pregnant and gave birth, when the gods were obliged, their food dining halls, the senior gods oversaw the work, while the minor gods were bearing the toil. The gods were digging the canals and piling up the silt in Harali. The gods, crushing the clay, began complaining about this life. The rest of this story can be found on the net. Enki and the World Order, C.1.1.3, Mud Tablet, Grandiloquent Lord of Heaven and Earth, self-reliant, Father Enki, engendered by a bull, begotten by a wild bull, cherished by Enlil, the great mountain, beloved by Holion, king, mess tree planted in the Abzu, rising over all lands, great dragon who stands in Eridug, whose shadow covers heaven and earth, a grove of vines extending over the land, Enki, Lord of plenty of the Anuna gods, Nudamut. Mighty one of the Ekur, strong one of heaven and earth. Your great house is founded in the Abzu, the great mooring post of heaven and earth. Enki, from whom a single glance is enough to unsettle the heart of the mountains, wherever bison are born, where stags are born, where ibex are born, where wild goats are born, in meadows in hollows in the heart of the hills, in green unvisited by man, you have fixed your gaze on the heart of the land as on split reeds. Means the tablet is scratched. Enki and the World Order, C.1.1.3, Mud Tablet, Enki, the king of the Abzu, rejoicing in great splendor, justly praises himself, my father, the king of heaven and earth, made me famous in heaven and earth. My elder brother, the king of all the lands, gathered up all the divine powers and placed them in my hand. I brought the arts and crafts from the Ikar, the house of Enlil, to my Abzu in Eridug. I am the good seaman, begotten by a wild bull, I am the firstborn of An. I am a great storm rising over the great earth, I am the great lord of the land. I am the principal among all rulers, the father of all the foreign lands. I am the big brother of the gods, I bring prosperity to perfection. I am the seal keeper of heaven and earth. I am the wisdom and understanding of all the foreign lands. Within the king, on An's dais, I oversee justice. Within Lil, looking out over the lands, I decree good destinies. He has placed in my hands the decreeing of fates in the place where the sun rises. I am cherished by Nintur. I am named with a good name by Ninehur Saga. I am the leader of the Anuna gods. I was born as the firstborn son of Holy An. Enki in the World Order, C.1.1.3, Mud Tablet. After the Lord had proclaimed his greatness, after the great prince had eulogized himself, the Anuna gods stood there in prayer and supplication. Enki and the World Order, C.1.1.3, Mud Tablet. The Anuna gods address affectionately the great prince who has travelled in his land, Lord who rides upon the great powers, the pure powers, who controls the great powers, the numberless powers, foremost in all the breadth of heaven and earth, who received the supreme powers in Eridug, the holy place, the most esteemed place, Enki, Lord of heaven and earth praise. Eridug was the temple city of Enki, and he had a spot there called the Apsu, and no one could go there without permission. Enki's temple there was called the Temple of Light. To me that was the center of Atlantis. However, it was washed away for the Noah flood, and Thoth tells you the story in his emerald tablets. Enki and the World Order, C.1.1.3. The Lord established a shrine, a holy shrine, whose interior is elaborately constructed. He established a shrine in the sea, a holy shrine, whose interior is elaborately constructed. The shrine, whose interior is a tangled thread, is beyond understanding. The shrine's emplacement is situated by the constellation the Field. The holy upper shrine's emplacement faces towards the Chariot constellation. Its terrifying sea is a rising wave, its splendor is fearsome. The Anuna gods dare not approach it. To refresh their hearts, the palace rejoices. The Anuna stand by with prayers and supplications. They set up a great altar for Enki in the Ingura, for the Lord Dash, the great prince, Dash, the pelican of the sea. The pelican of the sea was Enki's boat. That shrine was the Apsu, and it sounds though as something was constructed under the waters, and maybe it was a boat shed for the pelican of the sea. Now all those cities were destroyed in the Noah flood, and those gods had to flee for their life. Some went into outer space into the heaven of Anu, and others went east to the spot they called the land of the hairy barbarians. However, after the flood those gods came back to the same spot and reconstructed their new cities. Some of those cities were found under 8 to 10 feet of mud, and tablets were found there. Thoth was one that escaped the flood, and when he came back he learned that the temple over Amenti they had built was destroyed, and it's then he constructed the Great Pyramid over the entrance of the underworld called Amenti. Enki and the World Order, c.1.1.3, Mud Tablet. He filled the Ikar, the house of Enlil, with possessions. Enlil was delighted with Enki and Nibru was glad. He demarcated borders and fixed boundaries. For the Anuna gods, Enki situated dwellings in cities and disposed agricultural land into fields. Enki placed in charge of the whole of heaven and earth the hero, the bull who comes out of the Haur forest bellowing truculently, the youth Utu, the bull standing triumphantly, audaciously, majestically, the father of the great city, the great herald in the east of Holion, the judge who searches out verdicts for the gods, with the lapis lazuli beard, rising from the horizon into the holy heavens Utu, the son born by Ningal. Enki's journey to Nibru, c.1.1.4, Mud Tablet. In the shrine of Nibru, Enki provided a meal for Enlil, his father. He seated An at the head of the table and seated Enlil next to An. He seated Nintur in the place of honor and seated the Anuna gods at the adjacent places. All of them were drinking and enjoying beer and liquor. They filled the bronze Aga vessels to the brim and started a competition, drinking from the bronze vessels of Uruk. They made the Tilam Da vessels shine like holy barges. After beer and liquor had been libated and enjoyed, and after, from the house, Enlil was made happy in Nibru. Enki's journey to Nibru, c.1.1.4, Mud Tablet. Enlil addressed the Anuna gods, great gods who are standing here. Anuna, who have lined up in the Yuba Unkena. My son, King Enki has built up the temple. He has made Eridug rise up, come out from the ground like a mountain. He has built it in a pleasant place, in Eridug, the pure place, where no one is to enter, a temple built with silver and decorated with lapis lazuli, a house which tunes the 7 Tiji drums properly, and provides incantations, where holy songs make all of the house a lovely place, the shrine of the Abzu, the good destiny of Enki, befitting the elaborate divine powers, the temple of Eridug, built with silver. For all this, Father Enki be praised. This is just a little of the histories of Enki and the Anuna gods. Just do a search on the history book called the Internet, you will find a lot to read and learn. This is the history I dwell on, and many people that are stupid think these histories are our poems or false stories. These are the people that are blinded by their money-grubbing Bible religions, and they use their self-righteousness against you. But I know they are liars claiming the Bible is our earth history, but I know they are wrong, and not one of them can prove to me what our real earth history is.